and welcome back to Mad's World. First up, thank you all so much for your amazing messages about last week's episode on my journey to sobriety. It was super rewarding to hear from you all about your challenges with drinking, your efforts to cut down, and your motivation to make a difference if you feel that alcohol is an issue for you. So that was really great. This week we're discussing our holiday romance tales. We chat about some of the questions around this, like why do holiday romances always escalate so quickly? Are they love or lust? And can they ever be something more? Up next, you'll hear my chat with Luke about his experience with a holiday romance that didn't quite go to plan. However, before we jump into my interview with Luke, I wanted to share a story with you guys that I actually forgot about when I was talking to Luke. So, a few years ago, a good friend from home, let's call her Ariana, went on a Europe trip, so a couple of months around Europe and that sort of thing. And when she got back, obviously she had, you know, the travelers, the travel bug and everything. And she told us all about a little romance she had with a guy, let's call him Jack, who she met in France, and they ended up having a little rendezvous together. He drove her around in his car, and they went and like looked at some really beautiful sights and everything, and ended up like hooking up and everything. So fast forward 5 years, and I'm at a work party. It's quite common in my industry to have a party with a few different companies and that kind of thing there, and I'd had one too many champagnes or Prosecco's and ended up vomiting all over the dance floor, so that was stunning work by me. Anyway, I got chatting to a guy. I think he's from Belgium, but he was able to speak French and everything, and we ended up seeing each other for a couple of weeks. We went on a few dates and were hanging out and that kind of stuff, and then I ended up putting up a photo of Ariana on my Instagram story because it was a memory from a few years before. And Jack messages me and he says, I know that girl. And I'm like, no, you don't. She's from Australia. Like, it's so uncommon that there's no way that you would know this girl. And he's like, no, I know her. She was traveling around a few years ago. I was in France and I took her in my car and drove her around. Drove her around and took her and had a little bit of a holiday romance with her. And I messaged Ariana and was like, you are not going to believe this. So, yeah, now we're Eskimo sisters, which is quite cool. But anyway, so I hope you liked that story. But up next is my chat with Luke. So Luke is my gorgeous friend from Brighton who's moved up to London. I met him through Zaya, who I interviewed in a previous episode all about housemate dramas. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy our chat. Hello, Luke.
Hi. How you doing, babes?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, yeah, good. It's funny, you know me, I'm a confident guy. I feel a little bit nervous for this, you know.
That's totally normal. I'm sure by the end you'll be all lubed up and ready to go. All right. Well, for everyone listening at home, let's get started with our speed date round so they can get to know a bit more about Luke. So, do you remember how we first met?
Do remember the first day that I met you, obviously. I worked with Zaya, and coming back after being out on a night out, we came back and you were the new housemate. We were in really late and she was like, come and meet Mads. And she was like, come upstairs, came up to your room. And you had a certain gentleman caller in.
Did I?
So I was like, okay, a little bit of an awkward way to first meet someone, but I think me and you have come on leaps and bounds since then, haven't we?
I actually don't remember that. I was going to say the first time we met was when Zaya was doing my hair in your hair salon together when you were both working. But no, clearly I forgot the first time. Before that.
It was like the first week that you had landed in that frightful house.
It must have been my ex the same time when Zaya, same sort of thing Zaya was talking about as well. So
hey, they're all linked up.
It does, doesn't it? And how long have you been single?
Officially a few years, but you know, in between then, you know me very well now. I'm a very free-loving kind of guy. I think kind of like since started working in London the past couple of years, I've just been more focused on work. Like, I mean, I've had 6 promotions in the last 18 months, which I think is pretty good.
Oh, look out.
But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of just taken a back burner since moving up here. Like when I come from Brighton, obviously, like, so when I was there, that was all I was focused on, was like boys and booze, do you know what I mean? But since being up here, it's kind of like, you know, best revenge is your paper, right?
Yeah, it's weird. I think London is a little bit of a bubble, and you can sort of, it's difficult to focus on 100 things at once, and that's kind of what London offers you, isn't it?
Exactly. I think because there's so much going on, and obviously, like, you know, you're from Aussie, like, it's hard because when you move to London, you're, rather than focus on dating and stuff, I think you more focus on the friends and the foundations that you have from when you're back home. Like, and obviously, like, London's a bloody expensive city to live in. Like, you've got to focus on work to be able to go out and do these things and, you know, have that dating lifestyle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And then how many relationships have you had in total? So obviously you've been single for 2 years now and had a couple of flings, but in terms of like serious relationships?
Serious relationships, like 2 official ones. One of them, so maybe 3 actually, because one of them was like an old girlfriend.
Oh my God, yeah.
Babe, yeah, both sides of the book, this one.
Not a gold star gay over there.
I was trying to remember what that saying was about the gold star gay thing. I was like, I knew you were going to know it.
I think a gold star gay is if you've never slept with a girl or kissed a girl, and then a platinum gay is if your mum had a cesarean, so you've never touched a vagina.
God. Well, no, my mum definitely. I came out
so heavy.
But yeah, apart from that, just kind of like a couple of like, you know, monthly flings over summer. Some of them maybe that lasted a month too long, if you know what I mean.
Cool. And then how often would you say that you go on dates?
So this one for me is, I hate dating. It's just not for me, you know. Obviously COVID's like ruined us this year, because normally, like, you know, you're in Brighton, you're on the beach, you know, you're out at all these like cool venues around London, and like dating for me, I would rather go out, like get on a record all day and like meet people that way. I just think I've just got this huge not fear of dating, but it's just where I'm so easygoing. I just think there's a lot of formalities when it comes to dating that I doesn't really go along with me. I just find it awkward, like, you know, on like first dates and you're asking questions like, oh, why are you this way? Why are you that way? Like, do you think your parents loved you when you were kids? Like, I hate, that's a direct quote from Leanne, my housemate, as well. Like, it just kills me whenever she comes out with it. But it's like, I just hate it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know what you mean, the formality of it all. And I think in London, you do have a lot of those opportunities to, especially in lockdown when we had a little bit of a break and we were allowed to go to the park. That's sort of where everyone was in big groups and getting all of their friends to meet up and meet each other. And you can, sort of meet people through that way. I mean, especially
for this year, like, you know, before that, London, like you said, it's a great opportunity to be dating, and it's, you know, because there's so much cool stuff that you can be doing, like. And I think this year it's kind of changed the way that we do dating through like apps and stuff. But like this year, obviously, it's all about like going for walks, and you kind of, I think everyone's probably seen a lot more of the like wildlife side of like Richmond Park and stuff this year.
It's very challenging to go on dates and find all the cues that you'd normally find on a date when you're drinking. And now I've started dating my housemate, so I think I'm
oh my God, we can say this on the podcast as well.
Yeah, we can say it on the podcast. It's been announced. I know. So yeah, I'm not looking for love in the same places that I was. No. So I think I can definitely relate to your
You'll love this. I've got like this theory, right when it comes to first dates, because, you know, obviously the first date's supposed to be like the one that sets an impression and sort of like leaves someone thinking about you. So I've got a theory, right? My first date is always the zoo or the Sea Life Centre, right? Because I think you avoid that awkwardness, don't you? Like, imagine this, right? You meet up with someone, it's like, hi, how are you? Say you're just walking around looking at animals. Like, who doesn't like looking at animals? Do you know what I mean?
Love it. And you can see their favourite animal, and you can understand a lot from their favourite animal.
Yeah, and also you can tell if someone's a psycho by their favourite animal. Like, who walks into the arachnid like tent being like, oh, look at you little cutie. Like, you'd be like, definite no.
Red flag.
Like, I had a date a couple of years ago that took me to the zoo, and like we drank like a bottle of vodka walking around, and it was just like,
oh my God,
it was so easy. Then by the time you get around to doing the drinks, you've already surpassed that awkwardness stage, because it's kind of like when you're in the evening and you're in bars, it's like you've already met them before.
Yeah, 100%. And you don't have to have that strong eye contact the whole time, which can be a bit intense for some people.
Exactly. And it's just a little bit more relaxed. It puts you more on like a friend's basis, because then it's like you're going to build something out of it.
Yeah, no, love that. And lastly, in our speed date round, what's your usual type of guy?
Like rich? No. I don't know, like for me, I'm kind of, it's changed so much over the past couple of years. You know, my first ever boyfriend was tattooed, pink hair, kind of like covered in piercings, had Bite Me tattooed on the inside of his lip, kind of. You know, my mum is like a polo Ralph Lauren woman, was mortified when I brought him home.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so, and I kind of like went through my blonde stage. I think for me now, it's kind of, because I'm so much more relaxed and focused on work, it's someone who is also in that same kind of like motivated, kind of, you know, big dreamer, kind of obviously still tattered and tanned. But I like the weirdos, Mads. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
love a weirdo.
I just like someone who like isn't too afraid to be like weird.
Yeah, to just like, even just doing silly stuff. Like, I know around our house, someone will move in and you're acting all on your best behavior and stuff, and then it gets weird and you start like jumping around like a monkey and like going it gets proper
and it's
weird.
Like, you know, just someone who's not afraid to do that. Another thing is like, for me, it has to be tall. Like, I come from a family of like 7 tall brothers. Like, you know, I don't know if you remember, but in summer I dated that little tiny Irish guy.
Oh my God.
Who turned out to be sort of like a complete psycho. Like, definitely would be the type to like love the arachnids at the zoo. Like, but I don't know, not that I've got a thing against small guys, but I just think part of me thinks that a lot of them are mentally unstable to make up for their height.
What do they call it? Small man syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. But who knows? I think it's going to, you know, 2021 is going to be different. So
yeah, I mean, we're all hoping that.
I'm probably going to have to start going on more dates.
Yeah, hopefully we can. I mean, with this new strain, who knows?
Who knows? I'm going to start holding auditions in my Instagram DM box.
Oh, that's a smart idea, and hopefully the podcast could. If anyone fancies Luke out there in the world, just reach out.
Yeah.
Maybe we can set you up.
Tell me your favourite animal.
Ask them straight up. Give them their own speed date round, and you can ask them all about themselves.
Oh God, I'm going to have to take a leaf out of Mad's world.
Love that. All right. Well, so this episode, I'm very excited to share with everyone, is all about holiday romances. And so you've got a cracking holiday romance story, which I thought I could throw over to you and you could you could share. But yeah, over to you, Luke, and then we can have a little chat about it after. And we've got some questions that everyone's submitted in about holiday romances. So take it away.
So, God, thanks, man. So it's a nice little icebreaker at the start there. So Budapest, love of my life. I've got a friend called Aggie who is, I've got a link, thinking about it, I've got to link you two up because you'd set it off like a house on fire.
Beautiful.
But we had both recently broken up with guys, like we were both respectively dating. And we were kind of just like, you know, screw it, like we need a break because we like both lived in Brighton, they lived in Brighton, constantly seeing them. So we thought, you know, screw it, let's go to Budapest, like to go for a little like lads, like girls trip, kind of what happens in Buda stays in Buda kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And have you been?
Yeah, I love Budapest.
Yeah, so you know Budapest is the place that it's let rip. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of
it's pretty wild,
weird and wonderful and wild, and like, you know, clubs in broken down car parks and demolished buildings and stuff. It's kind of like everything seems like a little bit of a Mandy trip. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we flew over and on our first night, we went over for like 8 days, right? And it was completely, you know, on our first night, we went into this club called Instant. And you know, like in movies, right, where you walk in and you pay your money on the door and it's some big guy in a leather jacket, like stereotypical security guy, right? Open the door and then it's like instant techno music and you're right on the dance floor. So you've got a sieve. Yeah, exactly. I felt like I was on like a Bond movie where he's trying to find the killer. Like it was just me about to murder the dance floor. Like
what a one-liner.
Oh God. But we went and got a drink, then came back in, and we were on the dance floor, and we were there for like 5 minutes. And next minute, right, I sort of spotted these two guys who were sort of circling us like vultures, as if we were the prey, right? So, you know, like normally you have like a code when you're out. It's like just two of us, like, you know, say no to everyone, stick together.
Yeah.
Here's mine and Aggie's friendship is, you know, we've got this saying being like, shag's a shag. If someone gets a shag, the other one's got to be all right with it, and you just do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do, especially if you're going through a little breakup and you've got a little broken heart there.
Yeah, and you're in Buddha, do you know what I mean? The city of dreams. So we were sitting there, and these two guys were circling us. Naturally, one of them looked like he walked off of an Abercrombie and Fitch billboard.
Oh, stunning.
The other one, however, looks like he walked off a McDonald's billboard. So I was like, oh God, here it goes. Like, me and Aggs are both looking fit, but like, you know, Aggie was looking extra fine this night.
Yeah.
She had this like new holiday breakup romance glow to her.
The glow.
And yeah. And so I was like, the good looking one is obviously about to swoop in for Aggs, and lo and behold, they both walk towards. He starts talking to her. I'm left with bloody McDonald's. And
Ronald McDonald.
Sitting there talking, trying to like have this discussion, and I was like, I've just got nothing to say to you. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So then they walk off, and then Aggs like walks over like, oh my God. And I was like, come on, say those 3 words. And she was like, what 3 words? And I was like, shag's a shag. Or was like, I'll see you later, don't worry. She was like, no, Luke, he's asked if you're single. I was like, hang on, come again. Like, spat out my vodka lemonade back into the glass.
Oh, so he was being shy.
Yeah, kind of like just asking what's what, do you know what I mean? Not asking for my WhatsApp, but just asking what's what. She was like, yeah, he wants to buy you a drink. Like, he's asked if we'd go out into the tent. And did you go to Instant?
Yeah, I went there. It's amazing. It's got all different rooms. It's got like a Blink 182 room. It's got like the 80s room. It's got a techno room. It's insane. And then
you go out the back, and it's got like the circus tent. Yeah, it's bloody huge. Like 101% one of my favourite clubs in Buda. So we went out the back, started talking to him. Anyway, this guy, right? Just imagine, right? You're on your first night, you've broken up with quite a good-looking guy, and you're like, never going to top it, right? This guy, I'm sitting talking to him after he's just bought me a drink, right? Guess what his job is?
What's his job?
So he's currently training to be an astronaut.
So he's a spaceman.
Spaceman, get a grip.
He's a spaceman.
Tell me all the stars. Yeah, so this bitch, right, he was going to Oxford, and he was in fact on the Oxford swimming team.
Oh.
And so the reason why him and his friends were there was because they were all training for, I don't know, what do swimmers do? Like swimming nationals? Yeah, something like that. But anyway, he's studying astrophysics, but obviously Budapest has got all their pools and stuff there, don't they? He had basically flown all of his friends out so that they can have like a little holiday. His friend, McDonald's, Aggie, and actually ended up really getting along with. So then over the course of this next 7 days, all of mine and Aggie's list of plans that we had made were complete railroaded, because instead my new Prince Charming had written me on one-way guide to Budapest, all the best spots, the best stops to go swimming in, because this guy paid for everything, right? We would like get up in the morning and be like, oh, there's a car booked, like this is where we're going.
Really?
Yeah, oh my God. Babe, I felt like a complete princess. I was like, Disney, when am I going to get my contract?
Yeah, I love that.
But so anyway, he was like your classic Prince Charming build, like, you know, swishy hairs, like great to run your fingers through.
Oh.
And we just had the most incredible week where it was kind of like, you know, just, it was wild. And then it gets round to like the night before we leave.
So you're actually really liking this guy. He's really liking you. You're thinking it's kind of going somewhere, and it's got legs.
Yeah, I was like, because the other thing, he went to a London private school. He's got a flat in Chelsea. This is my one-way ticket to like...
Yeah, having the good
freedom.
life.
I was like, Yeah, I was like, I'm out. I'm like, I've already booked my flight out of Brighton. I'm moving.
Flying up to London in 10 minutes. Love
I
that.
was like full blown already.
Yeah, so planning your future together and stuff. So then you're out the last night before you left, and then what happened with this guy?
Yeah, so then he was like, come meet all my friends. So then we went into this bar. What's it called?
Simpler Kurt?
Simpler Kurt, yeah, right. God, read my mind. I walked over to him and was like, hiya. He was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, stood up. He was like, let me just take you over here, and like guided me off to a table on my own. He was like, look, he was like, how you doing? How have you been? He was like, oh, Ags. He was like, you can go sit at the table if you like. And he was like, I've just got something that I need to talk to Luke about. God. And I looked at Aggie and I was like, wait, what? So he like sits us down and he's like, he kept on trying to back out of like speaking about it all together. And I was like, right, this is where it's about to go down. Do you know what I mean?
Something big's coming, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you're trying to sweeten me up. So then he was like, look, I've absolutely loved this weekend. He was like, I've completely run away with it. He was like, it's completely taken me off my studying and my swimming. He was like, but I wouldn't change it for the world. He was like, but I've got something to tell you. And I was like, oh, what is it? I was like, come on, hit me with it. He was like, I do have a girlfriend. I was like, wait, what?
Oh my God.
Because your girlfriend better not be the one who's teaching you those tricks.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was like, oh my God, like, and I was like, oh, like, shock horror, like, of course it is, like, Abercrombie's got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
He was like, but we have broken up. He was like, so here's the difference. He was like, I really want to make things work with you. He was like, we tried it one more time. And I was like, oh, look, like, where is she back home? And he was like, oh no, she's actually here. I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah, she's in Budapest. She's been here this whole time.
She's over there.
And I was like, wait, right, you say it, right? I was like, shut up. I was like, where's your girlfriend think you've been this whole time? He was like,
yeah.
He just thinks I've been doing loads of extra swimming lessons. He was like, I've told her today, right? I know, cheating prick. He was like, I've told her today, like, she knows about you. She wants to meet you. And I was like, there is no chance, right? I was like, there is no way on God's green earth that I'm meeting your girlfriend once you've spent this like last 8 days with me. He was like, I came out as bisexual. I started sleeping with guys. We broke up. I broke up with her. And then we've come out here trying to give it another go. I've met you on our third day, your first day. He was like, and I know she's not the one for me. He was like,
God.
If you dare say, I feel like you could be the one. He was like, God. He was like, do you feel it too? And I was like, no.
No, you've just been cheating on your girlfriend with your week.
My little spaceman, you've just given me the world and taken the carpet out from under my feet, right?
Oh my God.
He was like, would you please come over and just speak to her? He was like, I'm really interested.
So she was there in the bar.
Babes, there in the bar behind him. And I was like, look. And then he sweet talked to me and I was like, do you know what? Fine. I'll do it. I was like, I'm going to have like 15 minutes and then I'll do it. I'll come over. I was like, just point her out to me. He was like, oh, her name's Charlotte. I've told her you're a hairdresser. Just comment on her hair. She'll love you. I was like, which one is she? He was like, oh, she's the blonde one. And then I was like, oh, why she got a walking stick? He was like, oh, no, that's her sight stick. She's blind, right? Oh. This guy has been dating me this whole time because the girl can't even see me. Right? She's probably been there half the time.
What a bastard!
I still to this day. 4 years on, I've never been more mortified in my life.
So he's just been, he doesn't even need to go behind her back. He can go in front of her face.
No, he can go right in front of her face.
Oh my God. What a bastard.
I know. So I was like, Oliver, Ronald, I'm done. I was like, please remove yourselves from this four-seater table. So then, like, for the rest of the night, he kept on sending over, like, bottles and stuff like that.
You're like, I don't want them, but I will drink them. Thank you.
Imagine, I just lost out on an astronaut.
Luke, you were about to go to the moon.
Babe, I was going to be the first gay to step on the moon.
Wow.
Move over.
I mean, I'm sure that there was gay astronauts in the past. Like, who else would want to spend all that time up there alone with other men, right? What else were they doing?
I know. Babe, anti-gravity. Nothing's going to hurt up there.
Do whatever you want up there.
Slip and slide.
Oh, my God. There's all this talk of holiday romance. It's reminded me of we were in Malta this year. So me, Sam, and Dan, who've both featured on the podcast before. Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of holiday romances in my time.
Babe, I mean, you're a wayfaring traveller. Like,
I know. I love doing a little bit of travelling, and I always end up, getting my heart broken by the end of the holiday and getting the post-holiday blues from a little summer boyfriend and that sort of thing. So
it's not crying over being home; it's crying over the lost boyfriends.
Exactly. And I was on Hinge in Malta this year and matched with a guy, and we were talking and that kind of thing, and he had like a yellow hat on in all of his photos. Then I went up to the bar and I see at the end of the bar there's this guy leaning against the bar with a yellow hat on. I'm like, surely not. And I got the drinks and I looked down and covered my face and ran back to the deck chairs. We're at this outdoor beach club. And I was like, Sam, Dad, I think my Hinge match is right there. And they look over and we're looking at the phone, looking at this guy. We're like, that's the guy. So then I messaged him and I said, I can see you. I said, I can see you. And he was like, come over and say hi. We had a little impromptu date in the beach club. And at this point I was still drinking. So I think I just necked a glass of wine and had 2 shots of vodka. So I wasn't feeling so nervous, especially because I was by the pool in my bikini. And I went over and we had a little date, and Sam and Dan were just pissing themselves sitting over at the deck chairs, just laughing at watching me in action, like having my date. And yeah, we ended up coming out with us that night. We had a great time, and it was just a little impromptu date.
Babe, I love that.
Yeah, and speaking of cheating as well in holiday romances, I have an anonymous submission of a story that I'll read out. So the story goes, I met a guy in Croatia at the start of a 4-month trip, and we kissed but didn't do anything else, just talked every day the whole time I was traveling. So this person was traveling around Europe, and so was the other guy that she met up with. And then when I went to visit him at the end of the trip, we slept together, and afterwards, and after they'd been talking every day, he let me know he was in love with a girl he'd met a week before me in Croatia from the start of the trip, and she was now his girlfriend, and they were doing long distance with him flying to see her in Estonia the next week. So I think it's just such a classic cliche, people cheating on holidays, because you get swept away by the romance and the idea of it all being so far away from everything you're used to. I think people just get so...
Well, it's that idea that it's far away from reality, isn't it, as well? Because it's kind of like, it's like, why did I say, like, what happens in Malia stays in Malia? Like, or like, any other country for that matter. Like, it's like...
Exactly. And that's how people feel. But then I know with my ex, he went on a lads trip to Italy, and I'm sure they had a great time at the time. But then he comes home and it all comes crashing down to earth when I'm like, what have you been doing? Where have you been? And it turns out he had cheated on me while he was over there. It's like, is it fun now? No.
Probably not when you see your fire Instagram. Do you know what I mean? That's got a hurt, babe.
Genuinely. Well, this brings us to our left on red segment, which we call it left on red because when you do get left on red, it has you questioning everything about yourself and your universe and and who you are. So we've got a few submissions of questions from listeners, which I thought we could have a chat about because obviously both of us are well versed in the space of holiday romances. So
space, God, astronauts,
space, triggered, spaceman, triggered.
I'm triggered.
Oh God. Well, so our first question is: do you think we catch feelings quicker in a holiday romance? And so I had a little story that goes along with this one. And so this one also happened in Budapest with for me, and it was this lovely older guy. I think he was like 38. Let's just call him hang on, I have to give him a fake name. Let's call him Ollie. And,
Ollie, that was the name of my one, babe.
oh God, was that a fake name? Don't answer that. Okay, let's let's call him Ollie. That's what I've got at the moment. So we'll call him Ollie. But yeah, he because he was working in the hostel, he was just lovely. This Welsh guy, like he'd always get so drunk that he would just forget how to speak English and only be able to speak in Welsh. and it was
Welsh is English.
No, like proper Welsh, like you know how they say pop de ping instead of microwave, and like they, you know, like they say full on Welsh. Like, he couldn't speak English anymore, so he'd get so pissed he'd just be speaking in Welsh. The only thing he could say was "cwtch," which is like a hug, and he'd just keep hugging me and stuff.
We used to say that in Brighton, like you got a cwtch for me.
Yeah, and yeah, in terms of catching feelings quicker, like I think because we hung out every day, I sort of thought like I was just falling for him so fast, and you just hang on to every little thing they say. Like he'd come into my room at night and be like, oh, we're not allowed to stay in the rooms with guests because, you know, it's kind of against the rules and we don't want to get in trouble with like, you know, anyone saying we're doing things or putting pressure on them or whatever. So, and stuff like that. But he's like, I just wanted to say goodnight. And like, you just know with people working in hostels that they just shag everything that moves. And it's all like, you're not special. But I was just, oh God, honestly. And I was just so infatuated with him. And then I got home, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, why was I getting feelings for this person? It's so random.
Me and you having our little 5-minute romance.
Oh, honestly.
Like, mad, I'm in love. I don't know. Like, I think 100%. I mean, we were already the kind to fall in love after 2 minutes anyway. But they didn't even have to say hi to us for us to be, you know, walking down the aisle. But I think, yeah, you know, it touches on what we were saying earlier. Like, I think because it's that aspect where it's not real life. It's not, you know, you haven't, you know, you can touch on like what your jobs are and what your personality is, and you know, like when you're on holiday, you've got an end date. Like you've got
the end date. Yeah,
you've got a flight out of there. So it's like you're always going to fall in love more because that fairy tale's already had its ending. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that fairy tale's already had its ending.
It's kind of like something subliminally, like, you know it's going to come to an end. So why not make it the most heartbreaking romance you've ever had?
Yeah, and I think you thrust yourself into it fully because you know there is an end date. So it's sort of, there's no going too fast because it's all gonna end so quickly.
Right, Lizzie McGuire. I know it's a fictional movie, but right, she goes to Rome, falls in love with a pop star. Yeah, falls in love with a pop star. She's going riding around on these like mini mopeds, which I think is so true for like holidays because you meet locals. Next minute you're on their moped riding around the city, and then you're up on stage in front of thousands of people singing "This Is What Dreams Are Made Of."
I mean, it happens to everyone, doesn't it?
Right. But I think, like, with my lovely astronaut, I was definitely picking, like, colour schemes for our wedding and how many kids we're going to have.
100%. Totally. And I think that brings us to the next question that someone's asked is it love or is it just lust? And I think I've got another story, classic, of a guy I met in Montpellier last year on a work trip, and I ended up extending the work trip. I was there with a friend as well. and I think there was a little bit of, like, lost in translation sort of thing because his English wasn't the best, but he kept saying, I love you. He kept saying, I love you so much. And I'm like, I don't think you love me. Like, we've met 2 days ago. But I think to him, he was trying to say, like, I like you romantically, but he's saying, I love you. And like, he was gorgeous and fit and everything. And I'm thinking, is it love or is it lust? And I'm just like, it's never going to work in the real world. It's just sometimes they're so, the whole idea, you get wrapped up in it.
And it's that because you get wrapped up in it, right? Your head's deep in a fairy tale, but right, you haven't, there's an ending, but you're not quite sure of when and where. But it's for that reason that I think in the moment you probably see it as love, and it's like bloody hell, like all my friends know me for saying like, oh my god, I'm in love,
oh my
like,
god,
and everyone's like,
same.
Can't say it, who with now? Like,
yeah, and I think as well, like it's all subjective, isn't it? So when you're in a situation, it can feel like the whole world, and your world's kind of just shrunk to that tiny little holiday where everything's good, and you just wake up every day and have breakfast at midday, and you have crepes every day, and you have a fresh orange juice, and then you go and get pissed in the night and it's all just a lovely dream. And it's sort of like, if that is your little universe at that time, then it just seems like such a massive part of your life. And as soon as you leave, you like give a little head shake, like, whoa, what the hell was that?
Yeah, because I don't think like, reality hits until you get home, because it's like, I think that's what makes traveling so addictive. Like, I mean, look at you. How many years were you supposed to be here? And now you've been here forever, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, I've been here for 4 years now. For sure. And then this one, I guess, is directed more at you. Would you ever meet a holiday romance post-holiday? So for me, I don't think I've ever met a holiday romance post-holiday. I'm trying to think. There was one guy, this is so funny. He messaged me about the podcast. He's like, you're doing really well. I really like the podcast. I'm enjoying listening to it and that. And I'm looking at his photos. I'm like, oh, you're quite gorgeous. You're quite fit. And this was before I was dating my housemate. But I was thinking, oh, this is great. Mad's World is, sorting me out with the hot boys. And then he's like, you don't remember me, do you? And I was like, no. And he was like, you stayed over at my house when you came to Wales 2 years ago. And I was like, what? He's like, we spent the whole evening together. We met at Bingo Lingo. I met your friend Amy. I was like, I don't even remember you.
Hang on, can we just touch on the fact that you're going to Bingo Lingo? Please, is this a bingo night?
Yeah, it was like a big old bingo night in a hall with like tables.
Maddie Carty,
it was amazing.
Mad's World is going to bingo nights and picking up Welsh boys.
Honestly.
I am here for this.
It was amazing. I remember the night. I just don't remember this bloke. And I mean, he's probably listening to this now. If you're out there, hello. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are.
I don't know. I think, like, touching on my lovely spaceman.
Yeah.
When I first got back, like after the holiday, he got back like a week later. Yeah. He was ringing me and stuff, and I think because in that instance I was still weirded out. I was still a little bit like, yeah. Now it's been a couple of years. I probably would meet him because I've spent that week with him, and I think he's a hoot. Like obviously, you've got to see now that we're in our own actual reality and we're back home. Like that's where it's like, I was saying like, it might not continue as a fairy tale because you're not in this sort of like airy fairy mindset.
It's so much more real. Yeah.
I might work too hard, he might work too hard, or you just might not click as much as you would on unknown territory.
Yeah, and I think on programs like Love Island and stuff, that's so relevant because, they have the romance and the holiday. There's no outer influences or anything, and that's why so many of those like manufactured and artificial relationships don't actually work out in real life because they don't have any of those other factors affecting them.
The thing that I love about like natural dating and also like dating like on holiday, like it's organic. You've got a organic natural attraction to someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I hate dating apps. Like I'm not really a dating app kind of guy.
It is so manufactured on there, isn't it? It's so not natural and it's just for a little bit forced sometimes. So I think you're either a dating app person or you're not, to be honest.
It's 2021. We'll see. Like I'm gonna have to start. It's the new way. As soon as we're not gonna be able to be arse over tit in GAY in Soho, like grinding on randomers to get their numbers. Seriously,
it's so sad, isn't it? I'm so glad I've got my little boyfriend now. I don't have to worry about grinding on randomers for the moment. This ties us over nicely as well to our next question. So, can it ever be something more? So, you were saying you would meet up with someone you had a holiday romance with. And so, I have a couple of friends that have met guys overseas. Yeah. So, last year in Bali, one of my friends met a guy from England over there, and she was convinced that was a situation where she felt like she was in love and felt like a real connection and stuff, and then ended up flying over to Vietnam the following year to meet up with him. So, like I definitely think a romance can be something more. And our lovely Zaya, who was on the podcast in episode 7.
Oh, God, love of my life.
She was actually on holiday in Miami, and we're going to do an episode about this soon, about unlikely romances. And she was on a family holiday in Miami, and she matched with Matthew, her current boyfriend, in Miami, and he was on a family holiday. And there was
lovely Matty. Shout out to the big guns.
Yeah, they ended up sneaking out together and hanging out, and now they've been dating solidly for a couple of years. So yeah, do you think it can ever be something more than a holiday romance?
I do think it can be more, because that you could get home and that whether it's lust or love, it's like the fight or flight syndrome, isn't it? It's kind of like your body craves something from people. So if you get home and it's like, oh my God, like I've got to see you again, it's like a yearning, isn't it?
Totally. And I think as well, just having that, as you said, like that organic connection with someone that, you know, if it's not artificially created through dating apps or through a situation where you're forced together and stuff, it can be something really special. And I think that's why, I know I keep talking about my boyfriend. I'm super excited about it, but I think that's why that's worked out so well, because it's sort of just like we became such good mates first and it sort of unfolded really naturally. So I understand what you're saying. If you kind of build a connection with someone and have those natural relationships, that's really important.
And especially if, like, whilst you're on holiday, they're like the best shag you've ever had of your life. Yeah. Like, who doesn't eat a bar of chocolate again that they've loved before?
Oh, Luke, that is a stunning quote. That's gone straight on the social media after this. Genuinely, yeah. I think that's why so many people, I mean, especially women, I'm not sure about gay men. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, if you sleep with someone and it's just like magical and amazing and wonderful, it just like heightens all of your feelings and emotions. I mean, some people can get instantly turned off and grossed out. But
gay world is the worst ones for sleeping with exes and past things, because it's not easy like they're easy, but it's easy like, you know, you skip all that awkwardness. It's almost like when you're hooking up with an ex, it's like it's a holiday romance, because it's got this ending to it.
100%. And I think as well, in that same breath, it's like the holiday romance that you've had, they come alongside all of those happy memories of being on holiday and being happy and being free and eating what you want and going out. And they bring that with them when you're back with them. So I guess that sort of comfort comes with it, the same way that when you're sleeping with an ex or whatever it is. Well, that was our last question submitted from everyone out there listening, and thank you very much for everyone for submitting those. But thank you so much for joining the show, Luke. I just wanted to know, is there a note you wanted to leave it on, or something you wanted to say to everyone before we wrap up?
I guess when it comes to holiday romances, just be careful, you know, the Abercrombie and Fitches of the world. Sometimes a dude can be so sketchy that he looks like a portrait, you know what I mean? Other than that, you know, I just think you're doing a great job when it comes to this. It's definitely my favourite thing to be listening to at every moment of the time.
Thanks, Lukey. Yeah, I think one of the main lessons we've learnt from everybody's stories is just trust your gut. And so I guess if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Except when it comes to my boyfriend.
That and already eaten chocolate bars.
Yes, exactly. That was a stunning little quote. I'm gonna have to dig that one out. All right, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining the show, and I'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon. Lots of love.
I hope you enjoyed my chat with the lovely Luke. Please do let me know on my Instagram. It's @madsworld.mp3 if you've got any stories or thoughts of your own to share. Love and elbow taps. Peace.